Imagine a town where the sun rarely shines, the economy has seen better days, and the only thing on the rise is the violent crime rate. The United States boasts some of the world's most enchanting towns. Today, we look at the other side of that coin. Get ready to venture into towns that time and perhaps fortune forgot. Welcome to our countdown on the worst towns in the United States. Number 10, Fairbanks, Alaska. Now, technically, Fairbanks is a city, but we're calling them towns because we're only looking at places under 50,000. We'll save cities for when we do the really big cities, like Chicago, LA, things like that. But ever find yourself yearning for a taste of true north? Want to buy a home in a place where the sun never seems to set and the winter tests your sanity? Let me introduce you to Fairbanks, Alaska, also known as the Golden Heart City. Tucked away in the interior of Alaska, Fairbanks is a dream come true for every chilly weather enthusiast and people who like to be violently assaulted. Yeah, it's a little dangerous here, and I'm not even talking about the bear, moose, or squirrels. Fairbanks does get cold. The temperature actually drops faster than my motivation to exercise the day after Cinco de Mayo. If nothing else, Fairbanks has dispelled one rumor or theory, whatever you want to call it, that cold weather places don't have high crimes. I guess in Fairbanks, it's never too cold for manslaughter. If you want to visit Fairbanks, be careful and pack a parka. You're going to need it. You want to get a home in Fairbanks, Alaska? It'll set you back $288,350. The violent crime rate in Fairbanks, Alaska is 127% above the national average. And they got a higher than average cost of living. Put all that together with the cold and the isolation, they get on this list. Number 10, Muskogee, Oklahoma. Muskogee is a city steeped in history and cultural significance located in eastern Oklahoma. Established during the Indian Territory era, the city became a focal point for trade, culture, and communication for various Native American tribes that were relocated to the region. The name Muskogee itself derives from the Creek people, one of the 5 civilized tribes that were forcibly moved to the area during the 19th century. Now, it's been quite a few years since I've been there, so I was a little surprised at this one. I didn't really see it as a problem when I was there last. But apparently their violent crime rate's pretty high, and they're dealing with some serious poverty issues. Their poverty rate is 56% higher than the national average. The good news, it's pretty cheap to live here. Houses are cheap. Everything else is cheap. Don't know if you'd want any of it. Their violent crime rate is 154% above the national average. The good news is the average home here goes for about $130,000. Number 8, East St. Louis, Illinois. Yep, right across from St. Louis, you got East St. Louis, and I'm sure the people of St. Louis would like to blow the bridge so people from East St. Louis can't get back over. East St. Louis is located in southwestern Illinois, and it stands as a historically significant city with roots reaching deep into the American history books. The only thing separating them from St. Louis is the Mississippi River and a brighter future. East St. Louis has been known as a very dangerous place to live for about 5 decades now. It's almost like they got to a point and they just gave up on trying to fix it. Statistically speaking, it is almost impossible to keep getting worse without accidentally making a right step and getting a little bit better. They never seem to get better. That's why I think they're actually doing this on purpose. Their poverty rate in 2022 was 29.3%. The national average at that time was 12.8%. I'd like to go there and show them how to run their town a little bit better, but I don't have the time or the crayons. There is one bright spot about East St. Louis, though. Are you ready for it? This is kind of weird and kind of alarming. The average home value here is $35,000. You probably don't want the house, but that's their average, $35,000. If you survive a year, I'll be surprised. The violent crime rate in East St. Louis is 163% above the national average. Number 7, Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan is located about 70 miles northwest of Detroit, and it holds a significant place in American industrial history. Throughout the 20th century, Flint was a hub of automobile manufacturing and was notably the home of General Motors. This industrial prominence once made it a symbol of American manufacturing strength and provided well-paying jobs for thousands of residents. Yeah, then things went south. I mean, really south, like Antarctica south. Flint's challenges didn't stop at economic issues. In the 2000 2010s, the city faced a major public health crisis when it was discovered that its water supply was contaminated with lead. Despite these challenges, they still got people living there. Like East St. Louis, they do have a bright spot. You can buy a home here for under $50,000. Not really sure if you'd want this one either, but they're there for you for about 50 grand. You gotta chase the hobos out yourself. Now, if you don't get killed by the lead in the drinking water, which they're cleaning up now, you could get killed by lead another way. Their violent crime rate is 169% above the national average. Number 6, the city of Commerce, California. Most people just call it Commerce. This is a city located in Southern California in the Los Angeles metro area. It's actually just southeast of downtown. For the most part, this whole area is industrial stuff and warehouses, so a lot of weird crap goes on around there. These days, it's one of those hot spots for the homeless people that are living in their vans. There's no river, but they're living in their vans. And most of that goes on down near the warehouses. They got train tracks here on both sides of the town. Now, what's really strange about Commerce is the areas where they actually have homes, they're not that bad. The homes are well maintained and they're nice. They're built in probably the 1950s, late 40s for the most part, but it's nice neighborhoods. It's just those warehouses, the train tracks, that's where it's dangerous and that's where it's ugly. In typical California fashion, this is a bad neighborhood, but the homes are expensive. The average home here goes for $634,000. And honestly, for Los Angeles, that's kind of cheap. For the rest of the country, that's terribly expensive. The violent crime rate in Commerce, California is 177% above the national average. The poverty rate here is only a couple percentage points above the national average, so that's not bad. Just that violent crime rate. Number 5, Danville, Illinois. Danville, Illinois is a city rich in history and cultural significance. Located in Vermilion County in the eastern part of the state, Danville was established in the early 19th century and became a pivotal industrial hub during the 20th century, notably in the coal mining sector. Danville is south of Chicago and north of Terre Haute, Indiana. Danville has a population of about 32,000 residents. Now, I always tell you, if its cost of living is low and the housing is cheap, everything else is gonna suck, and this is a perfect example. The average home here goes for $67,000. If you wanna rent a house here, 2-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, you're looking at about $600 a month. But for that price, you get a couple things: danger, depression, and a whole bunch of vacant stores. It's really too bad. This was once a very nice city and very prosperous. These days, they can't even keep the roads maintained. You know, it breaks my heart when I see things like this. They have some beautiful buildings, these beautiful brick buildings, and it sucks. This place sucks. 30% of the people that live in this town are under the poverty line. Buckle up for this one. Their violent crime rate is 351% above the national average. Bunch of overachievers. Number 4, Gallup, New Mexico. Gallup is often referred to as the heart of Indian country, and it stands as a vibrant testament to Native American culture and heritage. Now, it's situated west of Albuquerque. These days, you can find a lot of really interesting Native American arts. Navajo weaving, Zuni jewelry. If that's your thing, this is a great place for it. Gallup is surrounded by red sandstone cliffs and mesas. Gallup is not just a hub for commerce, but it's also a haven for outdoor enthusiasts, especially if you're really into getting shot at, because a lot of that goes on here. And it's not just because they have guns and they want to use them. They've got a lot of problems here, poverty being one of them. About 30% of their population lives below the poverty line. Want to buy a house? It's about $200,000. Now, when I give you that price, that's kind of like the average. It goes up and it goes down, but that's about the average. Gallup, in my opinion, I've been there quite a few times, actually probably a dozen times in my life. Most recently, it wasn't even a trip I wanted to be on. Had a train breakdown in Gallup. Ended up staying there like 12 hours. Luckily, I wasn't assaulted. Their violent crime rate is 387% above the national average. Number 3, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. You know, sometimes I start to feel bad for some of these towns because they just show up on all the negative lists and they just continue to. Pine Bluff is a perfect example of something that never gets better. Pine Bluff is situated in southeastern Arkansas, and it's the largest city in Jefferson County. It's also the county seat. This town used to be a hub for transportation, agriculture, and trade. It sits on the Arkansas River and has plenty of train tracks going through it. Almost 40% of Pine Bluff's population lives below the poverty line. If you did move here for some reason, you want to buy a house, you're looking at about $80,000. The violent crime rate in Pine Bluff, Arkansas is 433% above the national average. Number 2, Saginaw, Michigan. Saginaw is not a place we talk about much. Obviously, when you're talking about Michigan, Detroit's going to get all the action. Saginaw has a rich history that spans from its days as a thriving fur trading post to lumber and then the auto industries. It is situated in the eastern part of Michigan. Saginaw played a vital role during the 19th century as a primary hub for lumber, given its strategic location near dense forests and the Saginaw River. By the 20th century, the lumber resources diminished and the city swiftly transitioned to manufacturing, especially in the automotive sector, with companies like General Motors. Now, it's gotten a little bit better. It's nowhere near where it needs to be to where you'd want to actually move there. I mean, it's dangerous, they don't have jobs, and it gets bitterly cold in the winter. The good news, the cost of living's low and a house will run you about $116,000. But that's to be expected when 35% of your population lives below the poverty line. The violent crime rate in Saginaw, Michigan is 487% above the national average, and that's not even the worst. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget, we have a channel we just started up a couple months ago called The Sweet Life for Briggs. I'm finally finishing up some videos we're going to start uploading there. Go over, take a look. It's a bunch of travel stuff. If that's your thing, please subscribe. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Monroe, Louisiana. Monroe, Louisiana is nestled in the northeastern part of Louisiana. It is an essential hub for culture, economic, and educational activities. That's what their website says. Okay, I guess maybe they do those things, but I imagine you don't have much time for all that when you're trying not to get killed. This town was founded in 1785, and in its glory days was a stop for steamboats on the Ouachita River. Monroe is home to the University of Louisiana at Monroe. And it's one of those cities you really wish it would be better because it's a really nice looking place with their old architecture. It's got a lot of good history, just not a lot of good things that are going on there. Nearly 40% of this town lives below the poverty line. Because of that, you could buy a home for $134,000. Now sit down for this one because it's brutal. Their violent crime rate is 585% above the national average. There were beaches in the Normandy invasion that had a lower rate of violence. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day. Be nice to each other.